Today I'm going to be talking about the intersection of dance and engineering and why I think it's so gosh darn cool. Okay, so let's begin. If only. Okay, some quick stats about me. Again, my name is Athena. I use the pronouns she, her, hers. I'm 19 years old chronologically, but 12 mentally. I live in Kingston, Jamaica. I'm a second year engineering student at Columbia University. I'm majoring in biomedical engineering and minoring in dance. I'm a very big fan of bears, specifically polar bears and moon bears, dogs, any kind of dog, and frogs. And I'm excited to talk about dance, science and dance, and clouds if we have any time. If not, I'll just show you a picture of a cloud. Okay, so I started both visual and performing arts as well as playing with science kits at a very early age. So I was always on the stage or at a dance rehearsal, and I usually played with like chemistry kits outside in my backyard to test like water pH and stuff like that. So it's really been a part of my personality for a long time, and I like building things with Legos. So it's like, ooh, let's go find something that intersects all of these things and study that in college. The two spheres of science and art have always been near and dear to my heart, and in 2016, I combined them in one of my pageant campaigns on the platform of the duality of art and science. I wanted to show the members of my school community that, hey, you don't just have to be in the books all the time. You can go out there and dance or sing or play an instrument or act. Like, the duality is fun and it makes life more interesting. So this is a picture from 2016. Yikes, let's move right along. So what is dance? According to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, dance is a series of rhythmic and pattern movements usually performed to music. There are a bunch of other definitions, but I felt like this one was really solid, so I went with it. It can be a high energy, high intensity, and highly therapeutic experience, or just an unconscious shimming of your shoulders to a really fun pop song, anything you want to make it. For those who study, train, and compete in it, you know it's highly taxing on the mind and body, but it's also a really potent serotonin supplier, so I feel like that balances out. And over here is a picture of the Orchestra dance group at Columbia. I'm a part of it, so I figured how else to show dance than my favorite dance avenue. Okay, so what is science? According to the Science Council, science is the pursuit and application of knowledge and understanding of the natural and social world following a systematic methodology based on evidence. And that was their simplest definition. Like dance, science has many forms and features and many applications and avenues. It involves curiosity and the pursuit of explanations for the hows, whys, and the whats. It can be anything that you want it to be really science. It can be you trying to understand why this is working or why this isn't working, using all the data you've collected and using it to improve something in the future. That's how I really feel about science and just getting answers to questions. So just like for dance, those who study and train and compete in it, it's mentally and physically taxing. Throwback to the 6-hour lab I had last semester every Friday when I just wanted to be outside in the sunlight. Anyway, but just as is true for all curious cats, satisfaction often brings it back. So people usually study science, have some off days, but usually come back because, you know, we get answers and we get to research. And I just think that's really neat. Science is really fun. And this is a picture of SciShow Tangents, which is a podcast I listen to at the moment. I get really fun science facts every day because I'm listening to it on a binge right now. So I really recommend on Spotify and anywhere else you get your podcast. Okay, so from the previous two slides, I hope you've seen the initial connections between dance and science. A lot of the beauty is in its parallelism, where they're really similar, but they're not the same. But another part of their beauty for me lies in the way they complement each other, the way they can show the good and the bad of one another. And I think it's really, really interesting And there have been so many cool studies, so I just want to talk about that today in the time we have left. So let's talk about it. How has dance influenced science? Mainly, but not limited to, what dance has been telling us about biomechanics and psychology. So when we dance, we move, and things in our body interact, and surfaces rub against each other, stuff like that. There are different connections in the brain, stuff like that. So observing dancing, we've been able to analyze and understand injury mechanics, like what's going wrong, what's broken down, what has, sorry, someone's coming through my house. Yeah, what's supposed to happen and what isn't happening and what's causing the pain. So that's how we've been studying injury mechanics, like at different joints, the ankle, the hip, the back, things like that. It's also been a really good indicator of different treatments we could use for motor neuron diseases. So, for example, Parkinson's disease is a motor neuron disease that causes people to shake, as well as other things, but I'm not going to get too deep into it. But the most thing is that like they have uncontrollable shaking, but from watching dancers and from using different dance techniques, we have been able to see positive correlations for how we can potentially help people who are suffering from this disease and how we can positively influence them and like impact them and just overall help them out. The third thing that I saw was studying dance and how it's influencing science can help us understand tactile and kinesthetic learning. For me, I'm more of a kinesthetic learner, and when we think of learners, we think of audio learners or visual learners or people who can just like sit down and binge a textbook. Really scared of those kinds of people because they're super powerful. But anyways, tactile and kinesthetic learners usually have to do something hands-on and they need to engage with what they are doing. So studying how dancers work and how they engage with the many things that they're doing helps scientists like see how the brain connections work, how the different pathways are working, and how we can implement things like this in the classroom to help the different kinds of learners, not just visual learners or auditory learners, but also, help the tactile and kinesthetic learners also have a leg up. Dance has also influenced science in how the mechanics of repeated motion modifies the body. So if you look at this top picture, this is a ballerina on point, and this is an X-ray of the ankle. Now the ankle is a pretty flexible joint, but it's not usually supposed to look like this. But after repeated stretching, repeated movements in ballet and other forms of dance that use like highly flexible ankles, we've been able to see how repeated motion can modify the body in different ways. And not just the ankle, other things like the hip, the back, the shoulders. So that's another way dance has been influencing science and or understanding of biomechanics. And just further anatomy and physiology research in general, as well as the psychological effects. So they let people dance and they see what emotions they feel, and then they study their brain, do some brain images, what's lighting up, what emotions are you feeling, and what is this doing in your brain? What neurotransmitters are released when you feel certain things when you're dancing? How do you multitask? That's something that dance has been helping scientists understand, and I think that's a really, really awesome avenue because I personally don't think I can multitask, but I'm a dancer. So I can multitask in some sort of way, and understanding how that works, I think it's a really good thing to study and get some answers on. I would love to get some answers. These are some dance science studies that I found to go along with what I spoke about a while ago. So this study from Harvard Med did a test of Tai Chi on people who had Parkinson's and how this affects them. Tai Chi is like an exercisey kind of dance form where I think it used to be a martial art, but now it's more performative. So yes, they let people with Parkinson's participate in Tai Chi exercises every day, and it did show to improve them in terms of the shaking and balancing. They were able to stand up more and have less overall discomfort. It's not a surefire cure or anything, but anything that can help is a win in my book. Also in the study, they let people do different physical exercises, dance, golf, tennis, a bunch of physical exercise. And out of all the different physical activities, dance was shown to lower the risk of dementia in the people who participated in it. And again, not a surefire cure or anything, but this is giving us some sort of path to look down for how we can go about helping people with dementia or helping prevent dementia in the future. Another study that I thought was really interesting was understanding balance, because back then they didn't understand like how people were balancing.
We close with chains, our hearts in vain with joy.
Hello. I'm just gonna continue. Yes, so they didn't really understand how people were balancing, because walking is really controlled falling. So they just studied dancers and how they balance not only standing up, but jumping, turning, and multitasking, balancing now and balancing later in the dance. And that helped them understand the brain of it better, which is always nice because we don't know much about the brain, and yet we know so much about the brain. So that really tells you how much we still have to learn about the brain. Okay, so now on to how science has influenced dance. And I put this little note here to remind myself that science isn't just biology, chemistry, and physics. It's the systematic method for trial and error and getting answers. So I just wanted to remind myself about that when I was looking up different science influences, so I didn't just stick with the natural science stuff. So the first one is nutrition and dietary studies for varying body and dance types. We know about the different macro and micronutrients, vitamins and minerals, and things that we need to stay healthy. So scientists were studying what ratio you need certain things in to maintain a certain body type, to maintain a certain energy level without bearing into unhealthy regions. Another study was improved efficiency in the training and conditioning. So what works and what doesn't work. Does it help to do crunches all the time? Probably not. Does it help to run every day? I really hope not, because I don't like to run. So by studying the different training and conditioning methods we have for dancers and other people who participate in physical activities like sports, science has been able to tell dancers and the other physical activity partakers what works for the goal you're trying to achieve. Are you trying to bulk up and build muscle? Are you trying to stay low in terms of body mass so that you're more airy? Or are you trying to be stronger so you can lift people? Finding out what works and doesn't work can help you because you can put it into practice. There's also potential answers to my most frequent question: why am I so achy? And one of the answers they found is that everybody has, surprise, surprise, a different body type. So if your leg can only go up here, but her or his leg can go up here, don't force yourself to fit that mold, because then you're going to hurt yourself. And then you're going to be achy. So work with what you have going on and make that into the dance and make that beautiful. And hopefully that will make you less achy. There are other answers, but that was my favorite, so I chose to highlight that one. The fourth one is innovations in stage and camera technology. So they've been working on, scientists and other mechanical persons have been seeing how they can change stages in different ways to make a dance more transformative, how they can work with lighting and different effects to make the dance go ooh or ah, and make the audience more engaged. There's also things like GoPros and drones that have taken dance off the stage or out of the studio and made it more dynamic and interactive. And like it can reach a broader audience now because it's not just I have to go to the theater and sit down and watch this dance. I can see it on my phone or I can see it videoed in places I never even knew of. So yay, science. There's also dance shoes, which this one I thought was really, really interesting because these people weren't lab coat kind of scientists. They were just people who are like, hey, this isn't efficient. Let's change it in this way, see how that changes everything. And if it doesn't work, we can go again, start again. Systematic method, trial and error. So the two dance shoes were the ballet flat and the point shoe. I know they're different dance forms. These were just the two that I found. So sorry to my other dance form people, just like me. Yes, so the ballet shoe used to have a heel on it, but then someone was like, hey, this is less efficient when we do moves, certain moves, not all of them. What happens if we remove the heel? So they removed the heel and did the dancing again and found that it greatly improved how they did certain moves and certain transitions. And that's how we got the typical ballet flat we see now. The same thing happened with the point shoe in that they wanted to make the dancers look airy and lofty without all the wiring and mechanics that have to go into making someone actually airborne and actually fly. And that's how they thought of the point shoe. So that was their hypothesis. Hey, raise them off the ground. They put it into practice, see how it worked. Visually, it did make them look airy and lofty. So I guess experiment successful. And the point shoe is still being developed today to find other ways that it can more stabilize and protect the dancer's ankle. And I'm really interested in reading more about that. I didn't really see much about it now, but they're trying to work on it. So let's see how that goes. There's also the Pilates reformer. I didn't really know what this was until I got an injury and had to go to physical therapy, and they put me on one of these. And then I learned that this was developed by someone who wanted to be in the army, but he wasn't really bulky and strong. So he worked with a nurse to see how he could help bulk up and strengthen people who are injured and bedridden. How can we still get them to exercise? And that's how the Pilates reformer was born. And now it's been improved upon, tested, changed in different ways. And that's how science has been helping dancers in terms of recovery and physical therapy. Now, since I'm an engineer, I wanted to touch on how engineering is taking on dance. I tried to keep it more broad and open to science because I know there are different scientists and different science practitioners here, so I didn't want to just box it into engineering. But these are some cool engineering dance finds that I have. So biomedical engineers, I'm going to be one, are trying to develop softer knee replacements. Right now, knee replacements are really metallic. They're not very flexible. Some of them involve screws and pins, and that's just not really helpful if you want to continue dancing. Actually really painful. So developing artificial cartilage is something that could really, really help dancers and other people who have injuries for cartilage things. Make it more flexible. Make it something that doesn't break down in the body. Make it something that can be inserted without highly intrusive surgery. And bingo, that's a way that biomedical engineers can help dancers. Mechanical engineers are trying to develop more user-friendly dance shoes. So something that's not bulky but stabilizes the ankle, helps the knee joint and the hip joint. Maybe something with shock absorbers, but how do you make that less bulky? Again, a bunch of answers, a bunch of different experiments that have to go on, but this is something that engineers are trying to do to help dancers. There's also engineers and rehabilitation scientists trying to work on robot dance partners for physical therapy, and I thought this was very cute because there's one named Cody, and it's just It's just a little robot that you can dance with, do a waltz or a 1-2 step. And since they found that dance has helped you psychologically, they think doing something with a little robot dance partner can help not just improve your mood, but also your physical body as you get more active and recover from whatever injury you have. And 4, personally, my life goal is to build Baymax. I don't really see that happening, but if I do, that would just make my entire life right there. But again, probably not going to happen. But if I can build something like Baymax, as in a healthcare companion, as a biomedical engineer, I see that helping not only dancers who say twist their ankle and need support or need to get somewhere and Baymax can carry you there. Maybe you can build some sort of healthcare companion or some sort of biological machine that can stick with you and say, hey, if you keep doing this, you're going to hurt your ankle. If you keep doing this, you're going to hurt your shoulder. Maybe try these exercises to work on building strength for your back muscles. Just something that can monitor you and help tell you what areas to focus on. I think that's a really cool venture and something I'm really interested in doing in the future, but I'm not sure yet. But it's just something to keep in the back of my mind. And this is another page of more dancey science studies that I found. These e-tracers, they're trying to develop something like a smartwatch that can track the dancer as she moves, as she's doing a show or she's practicing, and then tell her, hey, you were less efficient when you did this jump today. Or, hey, you landed and absorbed 2 times as much shock as you usually do. This is how you can improve. So that's something that science is trying to do to help dancers in terms of their efficiencies and help them be more efficient in the future and reduce likely injuries. There's also how stress and other environmental factors can affect dancer recovery time. So this is an ongoing test, but it's been shown that if you're highly stressed or if you have other things that are bogging you down, the injury you got from a dance will take longer and longer to heal. Again, this is an ongoing study. And biomechanical differences in dance types. This study showed that different dance types, like modern dancers versus hip hop dancers versus ballet dancers, they all have different hamstring to quadriceps ratios in their legs because they do different activities with their legs. And all of them have different ratios as compared to someone who is a non-dancer. So studying the different ways that dance can change you biomechanically can help us get some answers like what's going on in the body and how the body adapts to new and fun and exciting situations. So now I want to talk about what dance has told science, has told the world, has told dance, has told science. You get the gist. It's a bit tricky to follow who's really influencing who, but fortunately that leads to intersectionality, and we love that because that has developed the field of dance science, which is something you can now get a degree in from certain universities, as well as dance medicine. And that's how dance is influencing science and science influencing dance. That's the study of all of that and how we can help treat dancers and help examine injuries and what's going wrong and why am I achy. All of that stuff is bundled into dance science and dance medicine now. And it's something you can actually study and get a degree in and practice, as well as ventures like dance science and dance your PhD. These are avenues that are giving scientists a way to explore their artsy side and express their research through dance, which helps them get their research across to so many other communities who probably learn more visually than reading a bunch of scientific words on a paper, or probably learn more kinesthetically by being involved in the dance, and then them being involved in the dance or the dance competitions like dance science can help them understand what's going on in the research instead of just sitting there and reading something that's probably boring for them. Another point of sciencey dance studies is mapping the evolution and anthropology of dance styles and influences on society. This is more of a social sciencey side, but like I said, I wanted to keep this more broad and both like help reach different scientists that might be out there. So if you're ever interested in the social sciencey sciences, there's a dance sciencey study that you could do. Okay, and now my final thoughts and feelings. The things that scientists and engineers are doing right now is really like the things are really exciting for me because I'm seeing how structure is influencing injury, is influencing how we can treat injury, it's influencing how we can build things to enhance people and make them less likely to injury. So I've chosen to study this in college, and I really hope that something that I spoke about today can influence you in the future to go, hey, this is cool. Maybe I can go look this up on Google and do some reading. It doesn't have to be something you study in college, but just something that like sparks a bit of curiosity in you and you go further and explore it. So based on my dance experience and subsequent injuries, I want to help build interesting things that can help people like me, but also people kind of like me, like athletes, in terms like football and tennis, but also people not like me, as in someone who has a 9 to 5 in a cubicle, who's not doing much physical activity. How can I build something to help them as well? From connective tissue replacements to improved physical therapy treatments, upgraded imaging to diagnose injuries, prosthetic enhancements, artificial organs, biomedical engineering can do so much. And that's why I want to use this avenue to help people in the world and especially help dancers like me, but not just dancers like me. The amazing thing about BME is that it's so versatile. So while I don't 100% know which nook or cranny I'm going into right now, I still have so much time to explore. And even when I do decide, the other nooks and crannies are still there for not just me, but anyone who's interested in to explore further. Next slide. Okay, finally, I'd like to say that the future is filled with potential for new and exciting studies for not just engineers, but anyone who has even a spark of interest and follows through with it. So even though biomedical engineering can help STEM and medicine, it can also help things like dance and art, as we've seen today. I've always disliked when people like Harry Potter sort people in real life, as in you can only do this thing and you're only confined to this specific category. Yes, it's really cool to find communities of people you overlap with. Shout out to any Slytherins in the chat today. But we shouldn't put a permanent box around what people can and cannot study, what they can and cannot like and explore. Like I've been saying, I really hope that something I've said today has sparked something in someone to go and do a Google search or listen to a podcast and learn more about dance, science, dance and science, or something in between. Maybe it was because all I ever heard in my life was you can only do the sciences or you can do the arts and humanities. There's not much overlap, so don't even try. And me being me, I wanted to be different and do both. Or maybe it's my tendency for trying to make connections in places there are none. I'm not sure, but I am sure that using your passions, whether they be co-leads or complements, to give you in your pursuit of knowledge a path is a good place to start and follow. So thank you for your attention during my presentation, and I think I'm done now. So if you have any questions, thoughts, comments, let me know. I'm sorry I didn't have any clouds.